Okay, so last night's homework. Kenny runs his own plumbing company. He has planned a job for a customer and has estimated that it will take at most 5 hours to complete. He charges an initial fee of $140 plus $70 per hour for labor. Let H represent the number of hours and C be the total cost. And I'm given this model. So let's put this in a box so we don't lose track of it. We're going to come back and use it later. We're going to put that in a box. Richie, can you find the I put the extra homework copies over there by accident. Can you please get him a copy, please? Okay, so let's define variables first. Nope, Richie, over there on the table. What does H represent here? Good. Read for information. H represents number of hours. And then what is C of H? Total cost. Great. So now that I've defined my variables, now we can start talking. Yes? Hold that thought. So above domain, let's write hours. We want to remind ourselves about what this is actually talking about. So domain is all about, that's supposed to say hours. Let's try that again. Hours. Range is all about cost. So when I read for information, I'm either going to be reading for something that tells me that there's a restriction or a limit on time or money. Who saw a restriction on either time or money? That's part of the rate. The $70 per hour is part of what the cost is. I'm hearing the word hours over and over again. Who sees a restriction on the hours? Shamar? Very good. Estimated that it will take at most 5 hours. Is this a restriction on the domain or the range? Look at what we wrote above domain and the domain. So, Lewis, that's where if you write this word above domain and you write hours, it'll remind you that this is all about time. Yes.
All right. When it says you get that initial fee, what that means that's 0 hours. So once you
right.
put the 0 in it.
Yes. So, the fact that there's an initial fee isn't going to determine the 0. We'll talk about that in a sec. Lewis? We're going to use this formula, but it has nothing to do with getting this piece of information about the domain. So go ahead and draw an arrow to domain. So my domain is going to be from what to what? 1 to 5? 0 to 5? Yeah, so the real world scenario gave me an upper limit. It told me a max of 5 hours, but it didn't tell me anything about the smallest value. So that's where you have to think in the real world. How does the real world limit time? What's the smallest possible value for time in the real world? Jeffrey?
0.
1? I think less than 1. 0. You can have 0 time. So it's going to be 0 to 5. I'm looking for both notations so that you practice. So here's my set, here's my interval. So that would be backwards. Fix it. Switch it up. We can't write 5, 0. It's got to be 0, 5. What's up, Lewis? No problem. If you just did interval on the homework, great, but I would still like you to practice set. I want us to keep that knowledge fresh. Okay? Good job. So I have my domain. What do I not know? My range. So I know 0 to 5 hours, and now Lewis had mentioned the $140. So yes, range is going to be about money. How am I going to find my range? Think about what we did on Friday. So Shamar just said plug in the domain numbers to get what? Correct. We're going to plug in our 2 domain values to find the range values. And that makes sense. Go back to your Algebra 1 knowledge. In Algebra 1, did you plug in x values to find y values? Yes. So that is what we're about to do. Using our function notation, this is going to be C of what first? What are you going to plug in first? 0. We're going to start by plugging in our smallest x value. C of 0 equals... What do we put on the back burner? What's that formula we're going to about to use? 140 times 0. So this means wherever I see h, I'm plugging in a 0. So the h is right there, so it becomes 70 times 0. So that's 140 plus 0, which, yes, is 140. So think about what that means. Has he been there for anything? So that means that just walking through the door, how much is he charging you? Yeah, the initial cost. But now it makes sense even with the math. So at 0 hours, you're already getting a bill for 140. That's called the service fee. So, but you think about that, right? Like plumbers who are on 24-hour, on call 24 hours. If you were that plumber showing up at the house in -5-degree weather, would you charge a fee for getting out of bed? Yeah. Oh, yes, you would. So, yeah. Well, if you were the plumber, I think you would. So, it's an 140 feet just to get there. Now let's see. We know that it's going to take at most 5 hours. So let's find the upper limit. So it's going to be C of what? 1? 5. We're taking 5. That's my largest x value. So I take my largest x value, plug it in to find it. So what is this equation going to look like? So use your calculators. I bring the 140 down. Somebody who didn't do this yet, can somebody do the 70 times 5 either in your head or using your calculator? Dan? 350? David, no. Jeffrey, 140 plus 350. Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey? 490. That was a combined effort. Thank you, Lewis and Jeffrey. 490. Okay. Now I have my information, but how am I going to write that? Yep. What do I write right here? Good job. That's my smallest y value. But let's fix it then. Okay, so be careful. That's why it's awesome that's why I value so much that you try. Because once you've truly tried yourself, when we actually go over it, your corrections will have way more meaning than just writing down what I write. Because then you're able to see, oh, okay, by accident I wrote 5, 0. I got to write 0, 5. Oh, by accident I pulled 70 and I didn't do the 70 times 0. So the corrections have way more meaning when you try it yourself first. Fantastic. How did we graph this? Can I get ordered pairs straight from this? How do you put those together to get ordered pairs? What was your smallest x value? 0. When you plugged in 0, what did you get out? You did? 140. And then 5, 490. Alright, so let's graph this. What label should I put on the x-axis? It is the domain, but how are we measuring domain? Time in hours. Now I have to go from 0 to 5. So 0 is right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can I go up by 50? So let's see. You're saying go 50s and skip a line, or like this is 100? What? So 100? You're saying like that? But on the bottom, I'm only trying to get to 5, not in the hundreds. So be careful. So 400, this looks nice, I think. There's multiple ways. However you count, as long as you get to 500 somewhere, you're fine. Yes. So what's my first ordered pair?
140.
So 0 means I don't go left or right and I go up. Here's 150, so 140 is going to be a little underneath it. And then what's my other ordered pair? 5.
5 is 490.
So here's 500, this is 450, so 490 is right about there. Fantastic. And what kind of line am I going to draw? A segment, or do I keep going? Segment. Very good. That's the most. What's missing on this axis? This one.
Oh, you gotta put, you gotta put, no, not hours. You gotta put cost total cost.
That is now a complete graph. Good job. I wouldn't need... No, you can't pull 70. That's part of the equation. So to get ordered pairs, I have to have x values that I plug in and do this math to get the y value. Okay? Okay, so Davion mentioned that he doesn't think he would charge that 140. Would anybody... People who have problems, do you think they try to wait till like the daytime? Yeah? So what would motivate somebody to call a plumber at like 2 in the morning? Have you guys ever heard of water heaters exploding? Did you know that's possible? The water heaters that get you hot water? Check this out. Can you turn the lights off for me? So in a second, we're going to coordinate and push play at the same time. Because like I said, the volume is through my headset for the video. But she, in one sec, I don't want to blast my ears here. I'm going to lower this on my end.